Hi, this is Alana McLaughlin again, a naturopathic doctor currently practicing in El Paso, Texas. And I just wanted to share one more clip on nutrition and the importance, kind of addressing right now specifically performance if you're doing any kind of athletic events right now. Currently working, with other women on training for a triathlon. And so I wanted to share a couple of personal notes with how I feel that I have adjusted and changed to make sure that I feel like I have all the energy I need during each training session. For me, I was one going from 2 to 3 days a week, a few, gentle aerobic activity and whatnot with, children usually involved to 6 days a week when doing 1 to 2 hours a day of swimming, biking, running, and that impact on my system that it had. So background, I have been gluten-free for some time and mostly dairy-free, especially for the last couple of years, just due to different factors. But those are just components that I have chosen because I feel the best when I don't have those types of foods. And I would say not only gluten, but grains in general I do better without. I'd say a couple of exceptions. One I will add in are things like the ancient grains like quinoa, chia, flax, some of those types of grains, which also have added benefits for the healthy omega-3 fatty acids that are kind of a component of those. So I wanted to walk you through just kind of what my eating schedule looks like for training days and what my system does best with. And this is very individual, but I wanted to give you an idea that I'm not just giving all these recommendations, that this is actually what I need in order to feel my best. And I also did a trial this past week of making my own gluten-free bread and a couple of, gluten-free muffins and adding those in and seeing how it affected me. Number one, I noticed digestively, just getting a little bit of that bloating back and things like that has been gone since I tend to avoid them. And energy-wise during my sessions, the past, I'd say 2 or 3 days, I did the bread probably about 5 days ago for a couple days, and then a little bit yesterday as well. And training-wise, my energy just felt very different. So that's me personally sharing. So what does mine generally look like then? I will start my day with our homemade sausage. We're lucky enough, my husband will make our own sausage so that it doesn't have all of the extra components, all the preservatives and everything that generally is in meat products and products in general, really. But doing a sausage patty is actually, on my way, either if I'm lucky enough before I leave the house, but oftentimes it's on my way to wherever I'm going for my training. And just focused on being calm and relaxed while I'm eating, because it's definitely not ideal to be eating and while I'm driving. But for me, that's kind of the option that I tend to do okay with as long as I'm keeping myself in a relaxed state. And so on training day, I would pick up, so protein-wise, looking at the palm of your hand for a serving. So I'll generally do like a sausage patty about the size of my hand, eating on the way. And that'll generally get me through a 1 to 2 hour workout. In the middle, obviously doing liquids and hydration and whatnot. And then experimenting with adding in some of the goo gels has been helpful for me. Transitioning if we're doing a bike and a run, make sure that I still have energy getting ready for the running part of it. Same thing with swim to bike to run or whatnot. Adding in some of those goo gels is a pretty simple form. Again, not ideal and definitely not whole food, which is generally what I promote. But for this case, during the training, that has been what I've added in that's different that I usually don't do on a regular basis. Also, later in the season, since we've been going since January, it's now April, I did notice a little bit of the adrenal, picture starting to get tired, really tired after those longer workout sessions or, like the 50-mile bike ride, things like that. So I definitely added in some adrenal support that I'll do either in the morning or one before, one after, kind of based on how I feel is how I dose it for myself. And that has been a lifesaver. Prior to, I did some B vitamins, but I found it just wasn't quite enough. It did help me early on with getting a little bit more of the energy and keeping me from getting tired afterwards. But since then, I've really gone to intermittently, and I don't do it every training session, but days when I get done with a session, I'm already feeling a little bit fatigued, I'll do, one of my adrenal supplements. And then also getting in right away if I can't make a meal, so doing, whatever leftovers I may have in there. The leftover ground turkey is pretty common with I'll throw in all my veggies in there and my dark leafy greens. So that'll probably be that is my go-to or one of my most common lunches after workout. If I don't have enough time to get that in right away, I will go to a smoothie. I use a green powder by Blender Culture, and then I'll add in a protein powder also by Blender Culture that is just pure pea protein. There's no artificial sweeteners, anything. It's just protein, digestive enzymes, a little bit of vanilla, and then lohan is an herb used as a sweetener, and that's it. It doesn't have all the other stuff in it that you often see in protein powders. So I will do that with either a water base, or my coconut milk is kind of my go-to, the unsweetened coconut milk from my can, so it still has a lot of the good fats in it. And then I will often add just a little bit, I don't usually measure, but just, a little pour of avocado oil into that smoothie, mix it up, and then I have my healthy fat, protein, and, a little bit of carbohydrate in the greens in there. But again, that's the one I do if I'm not going to have enough time to make, the actual meal. Because overall, I try to, as much as possible, and what I encourage others as well, is to go through and do a whole food nutrition plan, where everything you're eating, your snacks are an apple with some almonds, your meals are protein, animal or non-protein, whatever you do best with lots of veggies should be the base of everybody's, including those dark leafy greens. And a tip with those are, if you have any digestive upset or inflammation or whatnot, I tend to really recommend doing a little bit of either lightly steam or even better saute it in a pan with a little bit of your choice of cooking oil. I mentioned earlier I generally do avocado oil because it has a high smoke point, so it's not going to oxidize and create more damage within me. And plus that oil helps us absorb and utilize our nutrients better when it gets into our digestive tract. So that is a brief overview of what it might look like. The one component I would add in there is the frequency. So if you're eating simple carbohydrates, especially in the morning, your blood sugar comes up. It's already trying to come up because your cortisol is highest in the morning, and cortisol wants to increase your blood sugar because it's getting your body, it needs to get fuel to your muscles in your body to be able to do whatever you need to do for the day. So morning, ideally, limited to no carbohydrates except, adding in your vegetables. And then you can gradually increase through the day if you do okay with grains. Otherwise, you can just use your vegetables as your sources of carbohydrate. And then stabilizing your blood sugar with your protein, and then stabilizing it further with fat, because it is the one that breaks down and releases the slowest to stabilize blood sugar over time, to keep your body, your cortisol stable, which keeps your emotions and your mind and your brain stable throughout the day. So those are just a couple of tips. Frequent, smaller meals with healthy fat, protein, carbohydrates. And let me know if you have questions on specific ideas. And I also have, email me if you want that handout of what it looks like to have, some of the things for healthy fats, protein, where the serving sizes for carbohydrates through vegetables and fruits and whatnot. And I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.